dreadlocks while dancing. Open to a wider shot of that, it's the drum circle we're going full towards in Pritchard Square on Friday afternoon. And the voiceover says, "We see things you've never seen before every Friday across the street from the bank." Classic car drives along the Blue Ridge Parkway with its top down. And just for a moment, it seems like there's a dog in the driver's seat. But then we realize after a second it's actually a right-hand drive import. And the voiceover says, "What's up, Otis?" He knows that dog. Cut to a giant fireplace in a local hotel that's so big it has an elevator built into its chimney. And the voiceover says, "An elevator up the chimney, what you going to do?" Cut to an interior of a large brewery with a woman checking on the beer inside a giant fermentation tank. And he says, "Just another kind of cubicle." We cut to a glass blower dramatically pulling red hot molten glass out of the furnace that billows with flames. And also in this understated way he says, "And some molten sand to go." Cut to aerial shots of the Buncombe house and its gardens. He says, "Yep, the biggest house with the yard, what's next?" You see the Zoom bus tour being chased by a man in front of an outdoor cafe. And he goes, "Another unsurprising surprise. Sure you should have known. You can probably tell by now, we've got more than enough surprises to go around. So if you ever get to visiting, feel free to expect more than a fair share of your own." Cut to a logo and tagline, "Asphalt, let your spirit run free." Let me just read the voiceover in isolation. "Welcome to another unsurprisingly surprising day in Asheville. We'll have another one of those tomorrow. We see things you've never seen before every Friday across the street from the bank. What's up, Otis? An elevator up a chimney, what you going to do? Another kind of cubicle. And some molten sand to go. The biggest house with the yard, what's next? Another unsurprising surprise. Sure you should have known. You can probably tell by now, we've got more than enough surprises to go around. So if you ever get to visiting, feel free to expect more than a fair share of your own. Asheville, let your spirit run free." So those are two explorations into film. I think you can start to see the commonalities where they overlap. You can start to see some really beautiful, interesting little things that are happening in the way that we're bringing the story of Asheville to life. The key thing to look at in both of those is how it's going to allow us to move around the county and show it off in its absolute best light. And to how Ange sets it up, do more than just get a laundry list of things you can do here, but start to give you an idea of how it's going to make you feel. You're going to be surprised, and to be surprised is the best feeling in the world, like Christmas morning. So just to take you into a little bit more detail on the production approach, this is going to be slightly less sexy than the creative we've just taken you through, but I think it's really important to know how the mechanics are going to work behind whatever production we do, and how we're going to make sure that when we create this hippopotamus, we're going to eat every single part of the hippopotamus. I guess that's what we're saying. That's probably talking about the buffalo or the bison. So we're going to capture creative assets in the dual production unit approach. When we're shooting the film, that's going to be one contained unit. All of our video content is going to be shot by that film unit. But then what's really important, and one thing to mention there, we're going to be shooting in 4K, and that's going to allow us to, essentially any frame of any film that we shoot is going to potentially be able to translate into online advertising, especially for display. So that is a very clear way that we can extend the usage of everything that we create. But we also want to have a B unit that captures additional stills across all of the pillars to make sure that we have a very valuable bank of assets that we can use in terms of stills. And I'll get into a little more detail on exactly where those still assets are going to be used. So both of those units, even though they will be separate, they'll be answering to the same photography style brief. They'll be delivering on what we showed you in those first two references, the sense of being immersed, the sense of being in the moment, nothing ever being posed and frozen, but everything was being dynamic and very human, very connected to the experience. A very important point on production, locals first. When we're looking at how we're going to produce this, we're always going to start by looking at who we can use locally. There's so much talent here, there's so much we can tap into, and then we want to make sure that we do that. Starting with cultural insights from everyone in this room and from people outside of this room. As much as possible, we want to make sure that we're getting into the marrow of what makes this place so special, and make sure we've got all of the right insights and that we're being accurate, and that we're truly reflecting what this area is about in its heart and soul. And location scouting, no one will know the best places in this area, the most special and magical places than the locals themselves. And there are some fantastic photographers in the area that we want to look at, especially for that B unit across things like music arrangements. There's obviously massive musical and intellectual capital in this area, and some world-class sound studios. So there's going to be the opportunity for us to tap into that, and why wouldn't we? That's what's going to make this work special and amazing. Let's just talk quickly about the video assets we're going to capture. So we're taking you through a couple of film explorations, but they won't just be that. I think that what we shoot is going to give us a lot of legs, and there's going to be much we can do with it. So we've taken you through kind of a long-form exploration, if you like, but those will yield at least two very rich 30-second videos that will last us for a couple of years. 4 15-second videos, and these won't all necessarily be direct lifts. They won't all just be cut downs, because we'll be shooting quite a lot of content. And so for the 15-second lift, for example, if we are shooting a scene with Abby the Spoon Lady, we'll be able to extend that out for the full 15 seconds, as opposed to editing it in the way we might for a 30-second lift. And so those are going to run across TV, digital, social. It's going to be massive media and media economies of scale against everything that we capture. And then let's talk about still assets and what we intend to achieve there. So we, in the last board meeting, we mentioned to you how we want to avoid being wallpaper. We want to step outside of the category norms of tourism, which generally is about being removed, about everything being posed perfect, and a little bit less engaging and less human than what we think this area is about. We've updated some of the reference images we've got that we think are starting to get us closer to that sweet spot of what we feel is going to capture this area. And you'll start to see that this also feels a lot like the references that we showed you. So even though this is stills, you can see how the video and the stills are going to knit into one very clear and unified aesthetic. We want to be uniquely Asheville, and so now is our chance to do that. What does that mean? The images on the right indicate that. Freer and dynamic styles, capturing moments as they happen rather than anything being staged or frozen. More humans, more animals, and real expressions and emotions. Emotion is key. We want people to feel and know how they're going to feel when they come here. The images, like in terms of outtake, they need to give you a sense of what it's like to hang out in Asheville, the people you'll meet in Asheville, and be compelling and inviting in a natural and easygoing way. Free-spiritedness, and I think you start to get a sense of how this is delivering on free-spiritedness. So the pillars that we're going to be capturing content against and capturing stills against, these are images that you've seen before. So we're going to be definitely delivering on the same subjects, maybe some variations of that, but we're going to be doing it in our new style. So of course there'll be outdoors and mountains where we'll look at things that give you a sense of place, where you can see actual situation within the mountains. We're going to look at hiking, there'll be Blue Ridge Pathway, and then things like water rafting, zip lines, and all of those outdoor experiences that you can have in the area is what we're going to be looking to capture around. In terms of food and beverage, dining, street food, the bar culture, the breweries, we want to get into all of those areas and find the best moments. Music inside the venues, but then even drum circles and public street musicians and the buskers, and give a sense of the richness of the musical terrain in Nashville, which I think is one of the southern ones. In terms of art, the River Arts District, then even things like theatre, street performance, glass blowing, and then build more balloons, interiors, exteriors, gardens, house, aerial, and I think that there's many ways that you can capture it. So we're not necessarily saying that we will do all of these things, but I think this is where these are the areas we're going to look into and go, what are those best moments that are going to give us the clearest feeling of what it's like to experience each of those moments in each of those pillars. So where are those going to be applied? How are we going to keep a hold of the optimism on the still assets? Well, they're going to go into social, and that's owned and earned. It's going to go into digital and display, and it's going to be used for editorial. There's even going to be a print out. So there's going to be a multitude of ways that those assets are going to be used so we get maximum value out of it over a couple of years. Just to get back to our directors, so we've got some criteria for the directors that we're going to look at for the moving images. And what's really important is a flexible and agile production approach. We're going to be needing to get around the area, and we're going to be needing lots of those shots that get us into those moments. So we're not looking for directors that are going to want to shut down the streets and have a big set and cameras on cranes or any of that. I think that we want something that feels a lot more organic and a lot more authentic and gets into the moment. But I think our high production values are non-negotiable, and we need to make sure that whatever we produce is as premium as the areas itself. And we need that director to have the ability to capture beauty, but emotion is key. If we're not making people feel, then we haven't succeeded in our number one goal when we set out. And then strengthen narrative structure and storytelling is a must. It's not enough for us to just have a whole lot of beautiful shots, even shots that feel a little bit emotional. We want to tell a very cogent and cohesive story about what our show is, about how when you come here, come with an open heart, be free spirited, you're going to get any surprises. So the first director that we had a look at is Christopher Hewitt from a production company called Smuggler. And this was that one spot that we showed you. And if you have a look at his reel, he's got a multitude of other excellent work that you should have a look at. I won't pay you his video again. The other director that we looked at was Nicole Ackerman. And again, lots of great work that captures a lot of the similar things that we liked about the reference. And those are just two directors that are part of a much wider exploration. We need to make sure we're going to get the best quality and the best price and balance those two.
You can see we're planning to accomplish a lot in this next big round of production. In order to bring this vision to life and to have all the assets and the deliverables that we are planning to use for the next 2 years, we are looking at an estimated production budget of $950,000. Now, from a deliverables perspective, that is going to yield us those two 30-second spots, the 4 15-second spots, all the assets that we'll take to put those together, like Rob mentioned. That also includes 30-second radio, which will be part of the tactical media plan that you will see in May when we come back to present that to you. It also includes original music, a track that is very special to us and to this work. It includes both the video and still assets that will be part of the library that we can pull from for years to come. It includes talent and residuals. So we have to pay for all the talent in the spot and then the usage of that talent over time. So this budget will include talent and residuals over the course of 2 years, the talent usage on stills, and then agency time for the production, which is above and beyond our current scope of work. So for all of that, we're looking at an estimated budget of $950,000. And of course, we are going to do everything we can to negotiate those dollars on your behalf, to use them as efficiently as we possibly can, and with the hope of hopefully turning over savings to you. We want to make sure, though, that we have enough dollars that are approved to really bring the vision to life and to accomplish our collective goals. We are going to really put these dollars to good use. The creative will span at least 2 years. So it will run in FY20, FY21, and then perhaps beyond that. We are estimating right now, as part of the media plan, still a work in progress, that the campaign will be seen over 622 million times. Again, that's a rough number, but it will be seen a lot. We also know that up to 70% of advertising ROI is driven by the creative. So we will be spending a significant amount of media, and those media dollars are going to work harder for us because we have beautiful, amazing creative that tells a story about this amazing destination. Also, one thing to note, the budget that we're asking for production is well under the advertising norms when we look at the ratios between media spend to production. So right now, we're at about the 10% range. Most advertisers spend about 15 to 20%, and with the very importance and prevalence of digital, that has gone up to around 25%. So we're still below those norms and using these dollars, again, very efficiently. And of course, the work will run across multiple channels: TV, radio, digital, digital video, social, display, like editorial, and print. So across most consumer touch points, you will see the work that comes from this production approach. Just to give you an idea of our next steps coming out of this meeting, of course today was about sharing the creative and hopefully getting approval on the budget. For May and June, we are going to be evolving and building out these creative directions and landing on one direction. And then we're going to apply that direction across all the different consumer touch points, so social, digital, print, radio. We will be figuring out who our production partner will be to work with to get to the final work. And then our plan is to shoot at the end of May, beginning of June, and then we will have work to launch at the very beginning of August.
that we really didn't talk a lot about is that they have long legs. So even though these particular spots that are being produced now may extend 2 or 3 years, the actual approach has a much longer lifespan to it. Much like you've seen in Biltmore spots, where they've been able to carry a theme and approach through many years. And so I think we appreciated that, what they brought to us and to you, had that opportunity. So, we just have this one slide left, and I think what we're asking is the recommended action of the motion on the board. Mr. Chairman?
That's the question. Do not understand that there's an agency fee over and above fees that you already do this, and can you explain a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So our current scope of work has a lot included, but what is not included right now is the actual producer type. So on our team, we'll have a producer that is leading the production, and that is above and beyond our scope and will come from the production budget versus the scope of work that currently exists.
How much do you think that'll be?
About 100,000 of that.
Okay, well, I've got a
Yes.
couple questions. I know we do, in a lot of our ads, we do a really good job of featuring local people, and with them in publications, other folks. Are we gonna take sort of a similar approach in this campaign?
You actually walked out of the room when
Oh,
Mark
sorry.
put that slide up that said
Oh,
local
sorry.
first. And I was like, oh, Julie's not here.
Sorry.
Um,
I'm so predictable.
But yes, there's a slide that spoke to that specifically, that it's a locals first approach, not only on the production unit, but in the talent and the location scouting, driving insights from locals.
Wherever we can, we want to tap into locals, and only when we know that to deliver a certain specific area of expertise, we might need to look beyond, then we will. But we always start by going, how are we going to make this as local as possible in every way?
As a production approach, it helps too, because we do a lot of work, as you know, with rural tourism. What we do is we try to find things that we can tap into that are already happening. So things that hit our content won't be every scene, but rather than recreate something, it's much easier to have a commercial. Or I think depending on who it is, the second one kind of leans a little bit less into we need a couple actors, but I think for the first one, we need one or two to cast at least one or two actors, and then everyone surrounding that can be from actual. It should be as authentic as possible.
Absolutely.
There's somewhere in the back of my head, there's somebody here who has an amazing narrator voice. And what's
I
that?
don't wanna say what I'm.
Okay.
I want to say as far as national show, national community where is sound is professional.
Great.
Incredibly professional. Would be amazing.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to tap into.
Yes, and we, like Rob said, we look for these insights from everyone in this room to build out the strongest work. So thank you. Keep those recommendations going.
Any more questions? Yes.
When we have been through a similar exercise before, we talked a little bit about avatars, and I don't know if that's an outdated way to look at this at the creative process, but I'm an aspiring creative. So how do you envision I heard kind of the woman's voice. I have that in my brain really clearly. How do you envision the male voice?
Well, so the references that we had are not perfect, but I think that what we want is a sense of someone who authentically feels from the area. The best thing is when you don't have to, as the viewer, you don't have to think about who that person is, you just naturally accept them. So it needs to feel authentic. I would imagine it would probably be an older male voice. It could also be an older female voice, and I think that's going to be about seeing who the best talent for it is. It's a sense of, I guess, of wisdom, of having seen many things and seen it all. And definitely we don't want to get into a caricature. I don't think we want to do a caricature of someone from this area, extreme accents. So I think that, and the most important thing is that you just can't help but want to listen and hear every word. Does that answer your question, or did you have?
Well, I guess I am interested in the age part of it, because I get the wisdom and the vast experience.
Yeah.
And we have, I think, a lot visitors, and just wondering about how to feel from the.
All right. I actually think that the Big Lebowski reference, if you go and have a look at it in the fullness of it, is actually a good case study for that in many ways, because the movie is a very youthful movie, and they use this narrator, which they contrast with Los Angeles, the city of angels, and he talks about that. And so I think that there's like a really interesting like tension between these visuals that when we cut them away, there's a lot of high energy stuff in there, even in his first exploration, and stuff that feels very vibrant, very youthful. And he's got this wisdom in the way that he describes it or responds to it that creates a really nice tension that makes it as a viewer very interesting to watch. So I think that it's that's the potential for compelling film, and at no point will it ever feel old or staid, because I think our visual exploration is going to be so vibrant.
One of the things that we feel strongly about from the Explore Asheville team that hasn't really been incorporated in what you're seeing yet is that the connection between the travel party members and family members is a real driver of vacation choices, and so that we think that needs to be incorporated. So you see those moments between people, and that's also the way that you incorporate more like age groups and people seeing their aspirational selves.
Exactly. What's good about both scripts is they're sort of templatized, so I can pull out a scene or add a scene. We have to hit a couple things, right? We have to hit 5 pillars, but we can also in that be choiceful of who we're showing. So the voiceover doesn't necessarily have to ladder up one-to-one with the target, but we can be choiceful with which scenes we pick. We can write, let's say, we want our mid-20s demographic likes X place. We can find a surprisingly unsurprising thing to feature there, and that's how we kind of get multiple targets. And then you can work harder too, because there's what you saw was probably we probably won't film longer than stuff for a 60-second commercial. But what you can do with the 30s and 15s is get more choiceful and targeted with, all right, what are we going to show there if we want to hit X market, and then we be choiceful with our media plan to hit that.
Yeah, the ability to move around the area and show different experiences, make sure that we've got those 3 audiences that we've spoken about, and I think that each of those audiences is going to find something in it, and in its totality, I think it will appeal to you, no matter which one of those audiences you sit in, just because it's an unexpected way of telling a story about a destination.
The music in the 2 examples evoked a lot of emotion. It was very well done. What do you foresee spoons and steel drums and excitement that doesn't create emotion? What do you have in mind?
Yeah, I don't think we need music to be necessarily dictated by what we have in those scenes. So even when we are looking, if it's adding the spoon lady or we're at a drum circle, I think we want that music to be delivering on the bigger purpose of that full spot and not any one scene. So I think that those musical references are not a bad place for us to start with our heads being in. And I think what we need to look at, there's many ways to create evoke emotion through music. So I guess what we still need to understand is maybe we want something a little bit more high energy. Maybe we do want something that's a little bit more peaceful, and it may depend on the first group. Perhaps there we go with something that's a little bit more laconic and a little bit more mournful in a way. And the second one, we might go with something that's a bit more high energy. But either way, I think that the fact that you responded emotionally to that music is great, and that's exactly the approach that we want to take. What we don't want to do is take you out of that moment where you're really enjoying this immersive story that takes you throughout the actual area and jar you too much with any one particular piece of music as you go through the scene.
We were going to bring the Kleenex out.
Which one?
Next up.
I thought you were going to bring some Kleenex out.
Excellent, that's a good exactly what you're saying.
Good sign.
One of the times when you have like a variety, you see a commercial that you really like and it's really engaging, and like the 3rd or 4th time you keep saying like, oh, I want to see that again, and that sort of stuff. But after a while, sometimes it becomes, you get overexposed to it. Are there ways to like modify it, get some variation so that you're, even though the compelling aspects of it are still there, but they're, people aren't seeing it? Because I know in some locations really expose people to it a lot.
Yeah, so I think that's, again, the beauty of this expect surprises. What we want to be really smart about is even in those scenes, so we're going to be shooting quite a lot, and we're going to make those 230s, and let's see how much we get, and maybe there'll be even more material that we can create narratives out of beyond that. But within those scenes, I think what we want to do is layer them. I don't know if you've heard of the So when we're talking about expect surprises, you might see the nun running to the Zoom buster, but in the background, you might have a dog standing on its hind legs doing some sort of trick. And you, on the third time of watching, you're like, oh, there's that dog. So I think we need to be really smart about how we layer each of those scenes so that it's always got this little gift that it can give you every time you watch it. And I think that's key. If we want it to last 2 years and beyond, then we need to make sure we've got that there. Which is conceptually kind of a mandate. We need to make sure that every scene, every part of the commercial is surprising in some way.
And I think just to add to that, we are planning on creating a few things, right? So we're going to create 230s, 415s based on the media weight we expect, based on the budget. We want to make sure we have enough variation, so it doesn't get stale and you're not like, oh, there's that Asheville commercial again. Every time you see it, you find that Easter egg, you find something new that's surprising. So having more than just one piece to show for what we've done will help that as well.
And then from a media standpoint, they also make sure that there's frequency caps, right? There's only X amount of times that we feel an exposure is necessary, or X exposures we feel are necessary to get sort of the message resonating, and then we continue to look for new audiences, and that pool is going to continue to grow and grow as we get farther into the campaign. So
Great.
both creative and media sort of working together to make sure that we're not.
Beyond that, the very best commercials you might see 100 times and you always want to watch it one more time. So if we make it great, then people never get tired of it. If you just can't wait to hear that narrator's voice because he's just so charming, if you can't wait to see what that woman is going to take you through all of these experiences, like I think that's the key. If we make high quality work, we find a great director to bring to life, and people will want to watch it 1,000 times.
There's almost nothing worse than an ad that is constantly shouting at you with an annoying sound behind it. The same thing over and over and over. That's where you get annoyed. But if it's slightly more nuanced and some of the stories, clever sound design that is emotional, you kind of don't mind hearing it a few times.
Great, thanks guys. Any more comments?
So this is obviously hearing the investment is at a really healthy place, like on the lower side. Is it a big jump for us? How does it compare to what was from before?
We spent about $695,000 several years ago when we created 237 spots and a couple of 15s.
What about the seasonality?
Right.
We have some money that's in the production budget, a small amount of money and a very small amount in the production budget as we go into the next fiscal year that will allow us to capture some additional scenes that can fall into this, that can allow some seasonality as we move forward.
Yeah, that's that B unit that we spoke about, that hopefully is going to be locally based. I think will be the richest source of that. So to have that capability in the area, the moment that the colours change in fall, the moment that moves out, we'll be able to capture supplementary content.
Knowing how to put this together. Exactly.
The
That's
like-
time of year.
The luxury of this concept about being surprises, there are surprises all the way around, right? So we can find very special moments across any season and capture those. It'll be a very small unit that comes down there.
And how will you all be doing outreach to local production companies, things like that? How, do you put out an RFP? I mean, if there are companies here that want to,
Yeah.
how do they find out?
Yeah, we'll need to take guidance from that, and again, I think that's where our production comes in. That's the area of expertise. They'll reach out, but we're also looking to explore Asheville, and they've already been put in touch with a lot of the best possible suppliers. And we started an exploration of local photographers. But yeah, we would highly value any leads, any suggestions that can help us build that understanding of what the local production landscape is like.
And Julie, just so you know, there's a local picture scout who's worked extensively for many years in this area that we worked with before, that a lot of other entities worked with before, and he's highly connected to production teams and all of the crews and assets in this area. He can be beneficial in this as well.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks so much. Huh? I know. So, can I have a motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
Second, those in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you so much. So, Dan?
coaching of the sports commission started in 2010. And I can see all this stuff, FY 20s and this is really doing this. We're right at the 20-year mark, the 10-year mark. But then also, many of you in the room who've helped in other ways, not only staff, but from the little things. And I also have to thank the city and the county for their support. The county with assistance with the SubCon, with the city with help with the our general operating funds, but then also all the great work that Chris does with the cellular center and helping us out. A lot of cooperative efforts there. When you look around the room, Leah helped out with Spartan. Chip helped out with Spartan. We have Omni Grove Park who helped out with Fed Cup, and I need to stop because I'm going to leave somebody out like Megan or Tina, who all have had a part in a very successful year. So basically, let's see. When we're going back and looking at our mission statement, these are some of the things that we kind of pull out. As the Sports Commission, an economic impact driver, recruiting sports events, raising the profile of Asheville in the sports tourism world. Advocate for facility upgrades, enhancements, and development, whether it's working with Chip with the Swan and Noah project or other things that we have. But then also, one of our parts of our mission that people really miss out on is providing healthy community activities and events, and that's one of our core parts of our mission statement. And Madison, if I just hit this real quick.
Yeah, please.
This is just kind of, oh,
You have to go back.
here you go back.
Use the mouse. Use the mouse, Dan.
All right. Use the mouse.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't.
it's not working. You got it over here? Addison did it, so.
If this conference doesn't get 2 bids, I will lose a lot of confidence in what this whole selection process is about. Other leagues that have been ranked here in the past years have gotten multiple bids. We have a top 20 team in the nation. They played like it all year. And we got a couple other really dang good teams, and I got one here. No time to be standing still. Make your move or someone else will. Go on and get in there. Basketball team too.
Excuse the coach speaking there. But what I wanted to show, this was UNCG did this video. One of the things I wanted to show was just how incredible the U.S. Cellular Center looked on championship night and the crowds that we had. And I think that's kind of what we were trying to show. Is it's really come a long way in the last couple of years. So these are the numbers that you traditionally see. When we were looking at economic impact and what the Sports Commission itself has a direct impact with. So over the past 12 months since I've been here, so we've had our second Fed Cup, of course the SoCon Championships. We had our first run at Oak Root, the Asheville Spartan race, and I will say that one of the things with the Spartan is this was a little bit down last year. We had that stuff, that 4-letter word around here, rain, and it really killed us in terms of, they have a policy where you can cancel or you can defer your enrollment for up to 24 hours before. So what we saw was, especially after people started getting stuck in the pasture on Saturday still incredible, one of the largest. Galen gymnastics, and then this Great Smoky Mountain Grapple, and we'll get into a lot more of this in a little bit. But when you look at it, there's over 50,000 attendees for these sports events in Asheville, over $12.3 million in direct spend to the economy, over $1.2 million in taxes, 7,956 jobs supported, and over 20 million in total spend. Now, what I need to quantify on this is that we don't have in here any of our youth soccer matches, we don't have any of the lacrosse tournaments, all of those type of events that we're going to start to try to capture information going forward so that we can really tell a better, more defined picture of what sports does as an economic impact driver. So, and then outside of the numbers, we worked extensively this year with ABYSA after the flood to relocate events, especially soccer and lacrosse, to keep them from leaving Asheville. We did lose a couple of state tournaments that we were not able to host, but overall, between Mike Lashkob, Josh O'Connor at Buncombe County Parks and Rec, we've been able to kind of really work with the Buncombe County Sports Park and then the Buncombe County Schools. We've been assisting the Skyview Golf Tournament and setting up the social media outlets to better tell their story on their upcoming 60th anniversary. This is a great kind of event that continues. It's the longest running African American golf tournament in the country, and they do have a lot of returning alumni annually, and it's a really neat event. Promoting additional sports events through our social media and press releases. Continue to work with Asheville City Soccer to promote the team. I think women play this Friday. Women kick off this Friday. Men kick off on Saturday. So it should be a good weekend. Hopefully you can get out to Memorial Stadium. And then consult with community leaders as they plan potential sports events. We have a lot of conversation on these different things.
And then where does that golf tournament take place?
It's at the municipal. That's at a meeting. So, and it's a great event. You know, one of the best indicators for me this past year was I went into J&S, because I live right there, to get breakfast, and there were about 40 different individuals in line or sitting down who were getting their breakfast before they went out to play golf. And it's like, hey, where are you living now? I haven't seen you in 20 years. How's your, so it's a very, really great event. So what is our 2019-20 calendar? And this is just some of the more major events and some of the new events. We have Kepner Cup coming up this coming weekend. We've had some of the H divisions we've had to get back to the state and ask them to move to other locations. But Mike's working really hard with Buncombe County Schools to see how many H divisions we can keep in Asheville. Oak Ridge, Asheville, we'll have our second one in just a couple of weeks. River Ruckus CrossFit is going to be at Carrier Park. It's an event that went away and has now come back. Carpetbagger Lacrosse. If you remember last year, this was the huge lacrosse tournament that we basically had to work with Buncombe County Schools, Buncombe County Sports Park. Commissioner Belcher got involved with in helping us make some late phone calls to basically keep. This is one of the largest and oldest lacrosse tournaments in the country that's here. Fort Fondo is a brand new event, and so it is a cycling event. It's going to start at Hickory Nut Gap Farms. It's going to ride out in Fairview and all over, but their focus is stopping at farms. So they're really looking at, they may stop at a dairy, and there'll be product there at their rest stop, and of course the regular nutritional stuff. But they have about 10 farms, Madison, and they have 4 different types of races for all different you. Blue Ridge Lacrosse Classic is an adult tournament that's held each year. Asheville Spartan, we are one of the top 3 Spartans right now in terms of numbers. Our Beer City Cup adult soccer, which is Labor Day weekend, tremendous tournament, one of the longest running adult tournaments. Beer City Beatdown is one of our CrossFit events at the U.S. Cellular Center. The Book Walter Binge over in Black Mountain. Great Smoky Mountain Grapple, Gala Gymnastics, back to SoCon, and then one of the unique events that we have is Bill to Bill, which is a running event, and they started Highland, and basically they're a team of 4, and one person runs to a certain point. There's a van there. They drop off the next person. That person that's tired gets in the van, and they speed down the road, and it's kind of like a point running event. So this was the 2nd year, and they sold out in 36 hours after registration. So very good event, and thank you to Leah for hosting that. And then Bob, thank you for all your help with Cycle North Carolina this past year. So also within our game plan, this coming year, we'll be working to extend the SoCon basketball tournament contract. It expires in 2021, which is their 100th year, with the objective of adding 3 more years to have a continuous 5-year contract. We're also going to continue to explore the opportunities for a USTA event for the 3rd consecutive year, and continue to brand ourselves as an excellent city to host tennis events. And then one of the things is the Bob Lewis Ballpark, which came online last year. We really need to get out there and promote that event. So we are trying to create more of a national awareness campaign through some print and digital ads. Get an opportunity to get in a baseball, softball event organizers magazine for this coming month. And so we were able to get some information in there, but then subsequently get information later on in October in their other facilities. We're going to attend USA Softball, and then also we're going to be working with North Carolina USA Softball to analyze this for future years. And Tina and I and Madison are meeting with their new staff member to talk about some of this on Friday. Continuing on, the John B. Lewis complex in the Buncombe County Sports Park is, once we get John B. Lewis up and running and Buncombe County Sports Park with their 3 turf fields, we're going to be looking at events that need larger, a number of fields. Really look to expand the lacrosse market in Asheville. Alternative sports, Josh O'Connor and I have been working on cross-country course, which is part of our facilities development, facilities needs analysis, and then also expand the ultimate frisbee course out there for national events. And then as things progress more, start to explore events that would be a good fit for the Within Wave project. And then continue to work with SHIP, and then there are a couple other groups. An ice hockey group contacted me yesterday, so I missed the slide presentation. But there's a group working on the indoor track facility in Weaverville, and a couple other things. There's still some of them from the aquatics community. And then continue to partner with UNC Asheville. So one of the things that we're working with Janet Cohn on right now is the Carl Strauss track needs to be redeveloped and resurfaced and enhanced to be able to recruit collegiate and national track meets. Figured that's a lot of people say the low-hanging fruit. That might be one of those things. They're always anxious to host championships. Continue to look for a preseason exempt men's or women's basketball tournament. And then Janet and I have been talking now that she's involved with the NCAA men's basketball committee of working to host an NCAA women's basketball region. We feel like that's really the perfect size for that venue. And then, they want to look to turf and enhance their soccer field so that it becomes another community asset within the, with here. So that we don't have to worry about whether we're ready. So what sports are we really gonna look at targeting? And, baseball, softball, especially for the, Lewis complex. Wrestling, feel like wrestling is a very good sport for us. CrossFit's very good here as we continue to develop our disc golf. We can't just, cycling's huge here, endurance races, gymnastics, NCAA, women's basketball. We've talked about the preseason and the exempt. One of the biggest things out there right now is esports, so we really need to explore, where we can fit in with the esports model. And then, we dabbled a little bit with international jump roping competition that would have actually been, it's about 10 days, and it would have been really good. So it's in the summertime, so we're going to continue to look at that in the future. And then cornhole. Cornhole, esports, and jump rope were actually some really good events that are really picking up. Pickleball would definitely be on there. We have to look at the facilities. I probably need to go watch Diana play one night. I don't have a lot of experience with pickleball, but it is one of the growing and emerging sports. And I know a lot of people from Greenville actually come up and use the space at the Excel Center down past the airport. They go into Tensionville. They book that facility every single morning during the week. It's about a 5-6 hour span, and it's totally booked. And a lot of people in the Hendersonville and Greenville area come up to pickleball.
What is an e-sport?
Esports or any of your gaming. All of your No, it's like FIFA, all those different, all the games your kids have. Adults play them, your adults play them. Huh? It's huge. It's huge. Colleges are now establishing their own esports teams. Couch potato sports. Hey, if they come to town, they put heads in beds, and they're paying. People come to watch them. It's huge.
There's huge conventions for
Yeah.
them, there's like a Fortnite World Cup coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, volleyball is always one of those. We don't have right now. We don't have a lot. Excel has some space, but we don't really have. Hope with the Small Noah project, we would have 16 volleyball courts, because you can turn each basketball court into volleyball courts. So we don't have a venue currently right now that allows us to go after volleyball. Recruiting events, how do we recruit events? Relationship building with national governing bodies and rights holders. Prime example of this is Fed Cup. We didn't get year 2 without the relationship we built in year 1. Again, hosting excellent events so that the rights holder wants to return. We need to continue to advertise and promote our Asheville sports brand. And then we're going to diversify our sports trade show attendance. We're adding winter sports, and because it was in Winston-Salem, it's a great event because it's a lot of smaller to mid markets, and so it's a very good event. And then USA softball, hopefully we will be putting together a presentation. What obstacles do we face as a sports commission when we're recruiting events? Of course, with anything, competing with new sports venues and convention centers, weather. But going back to number 1, we've been working really hard with the USA Wrestling North Carolina chapter on our raffle tournament, and one of the reasons we want to do more wrestling events. And I got a Facebook like invitation last night from North Carolina USA Wrestling to like the Southeast event they're bringing to Wilmington. They're bringing it to the Wilmington Convention Center. So I picked up the phone and I was like, okay, we're trying to help you guys. Why are we not getting this? And the basic thing was, we have 20 mats, can't get them down. You can only do 9 upstairs in the exhibition hall at the US Cellular Center has columns. And of course that would be dangerous. So, with the US Cellular Center, there's limited booking availability because of the incredibly busy schedule that Chris already has. Keeping the facility modern and competitive. And then the exhibit center with columns. There's nothing we can do about that. UNC Asheville, we have the same issue because of their academic schedule. And they have so many teams that play in the Sherrill Center or practice in the Sherrill Center that it's hard to get in there. The track needs resurfacing. And then, as we've talked about over and over, just the total limited number of sports facilities that we have. We also don't have a large corporate base for sponsorships for large events. So when we hosted Tech Hub, one of the things we were required to do was go out and find corporate sponsorships. And, those are very limited in our town in terms of people who are able to give large money. We were lucky that Mission and Eagles stepped up, and then Fields Automotive providing the cars. But just for each event, they want the same thing. Hotels, we have a lot, Diana and I talk about this often. We have limited convention and meeting space in our hotels. This is a key one. You would not believe how many bids we look at right to the start. They put a cap on their hotel room rates, and that is averaging about $129 a room right now. And so that's kind of hard to hit unless it's January and February. And then a lot of these events hit in our peak times on our calendar, summertime or October. And then our major works and annual investment in facilities continue to stay fresh to compete with new ones. Bid fees, everybody wants money to come to town. Nobody is there. And then, of course, continuing to retain our staff here. So, going back, I wanted to just really talk about community and our partnerships. Most of you are familiar with our downtown dribble. That event had over 800 kids this year. And one of the great things, like the Asheville Police Department brings buddies to the children from the housing developments. So our officers who are working in the housing developments bring children over to the event. It's great. Education days for SoCon and BCTDA and some of the outreach we're doing. Mountain Child Advocacy, Skyview Golf, Asheville City Soccer, UNCA's Our Turn to Play. We work extensively with UNC Asheville and Western Carolina for interns. Then one of the newest things that has just come through is, and this kind of fits into community wellness, is the Stonewall Sports League is a new league, or it's not a new league, it's been going since 2012, but it's kind of a partnership between the Sports Commission, Buncombe County Parks and Rec, and Blue Ridge Pride to establish, it will start off as kickball and dodgeball, but it extends to, there can be over 15 sports. Raleigh's hosting the national tournament this year in June for kickball. And we'll be the 17th city nationally to join Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, and Winston in North Carolina. North Carolina has one of the largest participation rates. We're the only large city without that, so it's not just for the LGBTQ community. It's a partnership which really brings together the LGBTQ community and allies, friends. So it's a really continues to be a partnership with US Cellular Center, BCTDA, City and County. Our paid attendance has increased over the past 3 years. My question was, have we gotten rid of the Davidson hump? I don't know that we will ever get rid of the Davidson hump, but we did pretty good this year. Continue with increased awareness. We have created a better financial model in the last 2 years, especially working with Chris, so that we're able to meet our guarantees for the SoCon, and the downtown dribble continues to grow. Asheville Spartan Race is one of the top 5 races nationally in difficulty and attendance. Largest children's race, over 1,000 kids in that race. And then when you really think about it, we're using our natural resources. We're using the Swanado River, we're using Broadstone, and technically it is held in Black Mountain. So they label it the Asheville Spartan Race, but you'll see under Asheville Spartan Race, Black Mountain, North Carolina. But on Saturday or Sunday when you're walking around downtown, you'll see all of those downtown Asheville and Black Mountain. You'll see all of those Spartan t-shirts. Galen Gymnastics, this event has just really taken off. This year they had another record attendance with 1,425 gymnasts, but the level of competition has gotten tremendous. There was a whole division of young ladies who were going on to compete at the collegiate level, and when I'm saying collegiate level, I'm talking Georgia, SEC, where gymnastics is really used, Auburn, and it's also, and it should say the first weekend in January, so it's the first weekend in January. Villeville, it's an event that, the team running event we talked about earlier, they moved from Kentucky, and we had a pre-race party to start on Highland. So like Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have a registration on Friday night, and then they start out on Saturday morning, so it's kind of we're getting at least an overnight here, and then in the second year they sold out in 36 hours. Carpetbagger lacrosse, we talked about this earlier, we talked about this a couple times. I wish Joe was here, but Joe was really instrumental in helping us pull together the city fields, the county schools. If this event had canceled, the rights holder had already said, if I move to another city, I'm probably staying in another city. So this was just a huge effort by everyone, especially Mike Rochkob. I think, during this time, he and I stayed on the phone about 18 hours a day trying to work this one out. Bangkok, Julie, that's all you have your mug, right? It's one of my favorite mugs. First city in 12 years to host back-to-back Bangkok ties in the United States, and the second sold-out event. And we, everyone says, are we going for a third Fed Cup? We're just continuing to have conversations with USTA about which event that they may have would have a good fit in Asheville. We've done a great job, and we want to continue our relationship with them. And then the international exposure via the Tennis Channel media outlets. Unfortunately, we lost with the Australian team. All of their pictures were taken in front of the Asheville logo. And then the grapple. That's a great partnership with the US Cellular Center and Buncombe County Schools. It allows our high school teams to stay here and play. So it allows our families not to have to travel the weekend before a holiday. So the first year we had 12 teams, all from North Carolina. This past year we had 22 teams, which included 1 team from Tennessee, 1 team from Georgia, and 3 from South Carolina, plus 152 youth participants. We're working on this right now, and there was a 22 right here that got marked out. But anyway, so on Monday this week we had 22 teams. We're now up to 26 teams. Our goal is 32. We've added a team from West Virginia and a team from Virginia, and hopefully within the end of the day we will be adding on 2 more teams from Georgia. We're also adding a women's division, which is huge. Yes, I think. And our philosophy is each thank you again for your support and everything, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Can I ask Diana to give us a little update pertaining to the budget and
Okay.
Of course, we're going to continue our strong funded partnership with the Buncombe Region Sports Commission. We've earmarked approximately $260,000 next fiscal year. The way it breaks it out, about $205,000 is targeted towards underwriting staff costs, intern stipends, et cetera. We spend about $30,000 overall for SoCon sponsorship funding, and the additional $20,000 is sports impact calculator subscriptions. We participate in very specific sports trade shows on behalf of the commission, participate in site visits, sales calls, dollars that we target for sports fans. DEP is going to be bringing to us opportunities for sports sponsorships directly to the board for consideration as they come available this next year.
Thank you. Julie.
All right, so there are no hotels proposed for downtown ever again. There are gonna be no more discussions about downtown hotels.
You had the shortest meeting of your life
Shortest
last
meeting,
night.
was not the shortest meeting of our life, but it was a heck of a lot shorter than we thought it would be. So, I think, people know, I mean, the Flatiron obviously was continues to be very controversial. In the last week or so, we heard about some new proposals for other departments, and so it just continues. I think there is some random conversations with other folks on council and city managers, some increasing desire to maybe sort of try to get a handle on something. I don't know what that is, but I did, when I stepped out of the room, I was getting the latest information about Chow Chow and what the city is doing. So there's a 3-stage process for where we are with events right now. So with Chow Chow, my understanding is because it's a nonprofit, they will at least get a 75% discount on the space on the park, so that's good. And I think, I'm looking at you because I know you've been in conversations, there may be some ongoing conversations about other in-kind support that maybe haven't wrapped up yet. And then what we're doing for 2020, what the city's doing for 2020 is kind of negotiating individually with all of the events, everybody from Shindig to Village Pride to Chow Chow, about what's going to happen next year. And then we will be opening another, once that's settled, opening another application process for the 3-year cycle that we started earlier this year and then pulled back. The criteria is going to get, I think, clarified and tweaked a little bit. So we're doing, 2020 will be sort of an interim year, and then we'll get on the 3 years. So that's that. And then at our meeting 2 weeks ago, we approved a contract with, I can't remember if it's an architecture or design firm, to start having discussions about big Thomas School renovations. I think so that conversation is, we're just starting to move down that path. Big meaning like the big Broadway.
Julie, is there a committee that's being established to support that? I think it would be appropriate for the Explore Asheville team to have representation on that.
I'm looking at Chris.
That's actually why I'm here today. I was going to mention that at public comment and try to grab you after the meeting.
Do you
want me to
make sense to
go
just
now?
say it now since
Yeah.
we're in conversation?
Yeah, so we're establishing like a local stakeholders group with our contractors who are ESA architects out of Nashville. They've done the Gilliard Center, the Nashville Symphony Center, Tennessee Performing Arts Center, among other venues. They're going to come to town in our first week and a half, 2 weeks worth of process in this what will be about 12 to 14 week process for 2 full days of stakeholder meetings for community groups, government officials, all the different stakeholders that we'll target from our Thomas Wolfe Auditorium Renovation Task Force from the Civic Center Commission. So we'll be reaching out sometime in the next couple of weeks. We're hoping to really get that kicked off before the end of May, early June at the latest. And then from that first week will be 12 to 14 weeks timeline to have a finished product of an initial design, a final budget, a general funding plan, kind of all put together in one thing. Questions?
That's all I got. Happy to answer any questions.
What's the status on the civic center signage?
I'm gonna look to Chris.
Hi. You mean the naming rights, I assume? So current process right now, our next public meeting where it will be discussed will be at the Civic Center Commission meeting on May 7th. However, our commission's already voted on it. They voted to move forward with US Cellular, but they're an advisory committee. So it actually, both bids will still go to full council, which is scheduled for May 28th, for them to make a decision one way or another for which company we should contract with. So they won't be approving a contract at that point. They'll just be approving which company we actually negotiate the set contract with. There's two bids. Total term value with the Harrah's offer from Harrah's Cherokee Resort was $5.75 million. Total offer from US Cellular for the total term was about $920,000, give or take. So pretty significant. And Harrah's.
Could you explain the difference in terms? I think that's a really important aspect.
Yeah. So total potential term for the US Cellular offer was up to 5 years. It's a 3+2, 3-year, 2-year mutually agreeable. The Harrah's offer is a 5-year with a 5-year mutually agreeable. If you compare just 5 years to 5 years, the Harrah's offer is about $3.25 million versus the $920,000 from US Cellular. Some of that is capital improvements specifically from Harrah's that gets that number up, $500,000 towards a video board, and $250,000 towards fan improvements, which we're targeting as free public Wi-Fi and some AV enhancements in the meeting rooms. But right now, both companies are really good potential partners for different reasons. Both companies have their ups, both companies has their downs, as you guys all know. I spent all day Monday in Cherokee working out a name. We're still trying to negotiate what a name would be if it was Harrah's. If it's US Cellular, it would stay the US Cellular Center. So look in the next week or so for us to push out information on what the potential name would be. But it has plans for a cultural tie to the name. So it won't just be Harrah's Cherokee Resort Center, for example.
How did John Marshall to contact with the bid? How about that?
We put out a couple press releases. There were a few different stories run by multiple media outlets in the area and some regionally. We reached out, cold called. We reached out to people that we knew that knew people, and so on. I met with 14 different companies to start, had second meetings with, I want to say, 6 or 7. Got 3 or 4 meetings with 4 companies. Had 2 written offers. I did get one other offer that was verbal that I just couldn't convert into a written offer. So that's where we landed at 2.
And when council considers that, is that going to be an open session or a closed session?
Open session.
Open session.
Yep. Any other questions?
Great, thank you. Any other miscellaneous business or comments from the general public? Yes?
I completely misspoke when I did not think well on my feet, and I wanted to clarify that the American flights start next Friday, not in 2 days. I do have this Friday on my brain because we're opening our first new concession since 2011. So Auntie Anne's and Cinnabon open Friday morning, and we'll be having a grand opening event. So
They're gonna open early, so that
eight
people have.
o'clock.
Question for Julie, so thank you, actually. So we got amazing communication from the city to give us a heads up on possible water quality issues.
Yes.
For today and May 2nd, which is also accurate because we have water quality issues, so good. But I love the heads up. It helps us prepare for guests. We did shut down production today, but knowing that that might be a possibility is enormous for us. So thank you, everyone in the city, for that great communication. And then my question is about the soccer fields. Are they going to be still be rebuilt? Even though they just got built?
So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the extent of the damage. I mean, I saw the pictures, so they were not. And I know that a bunch of folks came out and cleaned up on Sunday. So I just, I think two of the fields had been fully, cleaned, one of them was almost finished. And so we have not gotten a report on the status of that.
Well, and let me ask a question. My understanding was that the soccer fields were designed to take water, to flood,
Yeah.
so that Biltmore Village didn't flood.
It's also really common for soccer fields to be built in the floodplain, is my understanding, from the team, and, that there are kind of cleanup efforts that, are possible to be employed that really reduce those, costs that are going on. Soccer fields have gotten a lot of media attention along with other, recreational assets. Carrier Park was underwater, Biltmore Village was underwater, the golf course was underwater.
So, it's exactly right. They were designed to flood, they are designed to flood. I think the challenge is we're getting more rain more frequently than we
And I think
anticipated.
the flooding is gonna continue, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So we've gotta decide whether they can be modified in a way
Right.
to flood effectively.
Well, they have to flood. The Corps of Engineers won't allow us to not let them flood, if I said that correctly. They have to flood, that's their job. I think the question is whether the surface that we chose several years ago, before all this insane rain started happening, continues to be the right surface. We did, again, I think at our April 7th meeting, sign an agreement or approve an agreement with ABYSA that they will, going forward, they will take primary responsibility for repairing the fields in instances like this. The city will put in up to $50,000, and then both the city and ABYSA are putting money aside in an account for anticipating rebuilding the fields in about 10 years. So,
Great. And in the last but not least category,
Oh, I just wanted to introduce our new Director of Finance and welcome her, Jennifer Casperine. So I think her first week on the job is only enhanced by the week she spent prior to that driving across the country with 5 pets. Might be better. Yeah.
so, okay, thanks everyone for your participation. And